handled this case that was brought before the court when it comes to showing photos of some of the suspects on social media. And Kira is joining us live from our City Centre studio. And thank you so much, Wakili, for talking to us here on KTN News Centre. And when it comes to this whole issue of suspects not wanting to be paraded through cities and went to court, what does it really mean when it comes to fighting insecurity in the country?
Thank you. Thank you. I think the petition raises weighty issues on public interest. And in terms of security, I think it's important to note that the issue that is before court touches on the IG and the DCI's practice of posting photos of suspects or accused persons on social media. And the petitioner is submitting before court that that practice is unconstitutional. The police do not have powers to be able to do so. And in as much as they will want to argue that it is on public interest that they need to either showcase what they are doing to the public, we find it a situation that is really unattainable in the circumstances because the presumption of innocence supersedes public interest. And as such, they need to wait until the courts of law determine a person's innocence or guilt. That is what is now before court. In as much as we will want to ensure that security is maintained in the country, we need also to balance the issues of public interest vis-a-vis the doctrine of presumption of innocence.
And it's good you've talked about the issue of public interest. And when you talk about public interest, Wakili, I'm thinking about the security of every Kenyan. And as much as this case is still in court, we cannot talk much about it, what's already in court. But since you handled this whole petition that's before the judge, my question is, let's talk about matters in security when it comes to terrorism. We've seen the DCI, the Office of the Inspector General of Police, informing members of the public to give information about some of the suspects. Would you say that is not at the interest of the public?
I think it's at the interest of the public, and the police have various avenues in which they will want to communicate amongst themselves, and they do have an opportunity to have signals transmitted in all police stations for purposes of trying just to inform the public. Our biggest contention is that what happens later on if somebody is acquitted by the courts. You see, the World Wide Web, the internet, is more or less a global sphere. And everything that is circulated these days, you cannot remove it unless we have a data protection law that provides for the mechanisms in which state authorities utilizes data and stores data. And at the point where somebody has been either acquitted by a court of law, how then will they remove this data? It's really difficult at this stage in time to try to advance the argument that we will be infringing on your fundamental rights and freedoms at the expense of public interest. We do not in any way more or less downplay the role that the security agencies are doing in the country right now and in the fight against terrorism and corruption. We really and strongly support their cause. But in respect to this, we really feel that they overstepped their mandate. They have other ways in which they can be able to disseminate information in respect to suspects other than parading them on social media.
You're saying that, allow me to cut you short, Wakili. You're saying that police officers they should have another way of actually releasing information to members of the public. But it goes back to my question. Let's talk about suspects in connection to matters terrorism in the country. How would the public know the kind of people the police are looking for if the photos are not displayed to members of the public?
I think that is where we are confusing the issues. What we are saying, the police have all the rights to post a suspect's name, what this suspect is accused of or supposedly accused of, but the issues that relate to privacy in respect to the phone numbers, the date of birth, their residence, these are private affairs which are protected in law under Article 31 C of the Constitution, which at least gives somebody a right to ensure that information relating to their private affairs is not released. And for your information, all over the world, if people are wanted, more or less, these are people who have more or less are running again, are on the run. The police have a right to post and put more or less wanted posters and signs so that the other members of the public can be alerted that this person is wanted, and there are ways in which that information can be displayed. They can be displayed on police stations. They can be displayed on points of entry and exit points. They can be displayed on the IG's more or less circular to all police stations. What we are saying is that the police, we are not in any way trying to stop the police from doing what they're entitled to do. This is in respect to situations where somebody is on the run and he needs to be arrested.
All right. So kindly paint for us a picture, Akili, of how you want the police officers to, treat some of these suspects, how you want police officers to release information to members of the public, because your main concern is displaying their photos and also their personal details, like their names, their ID numbers, and their phone numbers.
There is really the start of criminal proceedings. First, there is the element that investigations have to be done, and done conclusively, to the point where somebody is arrested, it's with a degree of certainty that this person has committed such an offense. The second level of investigation is to ensure that you prefer charges upon this person and you take him to court. Now, the point where we are right now is that even before the investigations are complete, somebody is arrested, paraded on social media. Later on, probably is told, okay, we've done our investigations, and clearly you're not the person involved. And they've already paraded your photos and details on social media, so that to that person whose photos and details have been paraded on social media, this person's rights, privacy rights, the presumption of innocence, this person's rights have really been infringed on. You cannot, in fact, even dare seek for employment if your photos and your name is there on social media. Your potential employer will just Google your name and find your photos there. So you will also lose some level of economic or employment opportunities that you would have otherwise attracted if the police had done their investigations in the right manner.
All right. Just hold on to that thought. Davis Kiru, a lawyer who has been handling this petition that has been brought before a judge at the court, and of course hearing is next year, March. But allow me to take a short breather here on KTN News Center. But when we come back, we